You are on Wired Down. Special guest today, we have the one and only Duke's Car Club. It's going to be the bomb of all the shows because it is about bombs. We have the president, Grelas, family traditions, the torch passed on to the rest of the club. We have Steve Noval that has a lot to say. Actually, Steve, you're a member of the Legends, original Lowrider Legends. Got your ring and everything.
Yes.
We just got out of Legends not too long ago at Peterson Museum. You guys were there once again, but we all know about the granddaddy of all car clubs. The Dukes were there pretty much first 55 international chapters. So they have a lot to say. I have a lot to say, but I can't really get into everything because we're going to get into bombs and what do I know about them? But I will find out right now. Go ahead and reintroduce yourselves as we go on. Alex, you can go first, talk to the audience and tell them who you are.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Relas. Fernando Relas' son, second generation, and the current Duke's Car Club International president.
Very good. Steve?
Hey everyone, I'm Steve Noval. Honored to be the vice president of the SoCal chapter. It's kind of a humbling experience here because I grew up seeing Fernando and Julio in interviews like this from different organizations. And it's kind of, like I said, an honor and a humble experience to be, following their footsteps.
Well, since 1962.
Correct.
I knew your dad, Julio. I mean, needless to say, there are so many chips off the old block. Jesse Valadez Imperials was one of them.
Yeah.
Fernando, Julio. My early beginnings when my club started, I would go over there or they come down the aisle wherever we displayed at the car shows and we'd have a little meeting of the minds. And I always loved that because I got a chance to learn what leadership was and how to gain respect. And they were soft spoken, but whatever they said, their word meant everything. And today, thank God my car club's still around, but the Dukes are still around since way back then and before me.
Yeah.
You can never forget where you came from, and all those were my teachers. And knowing the traditions of the family, like I just said right now to you, Alex, you are president. Your brother, may he rest in peace before you, was also president, but you guys carry the name.
Yes. And it's not an easy name to carry, especially growing up, knowing who my father was and his background, everything he was doing. So it is a challenge filling up those shoes. I'm not going to lie, and trying one day at a time.
I understand your mom's getting more involved now.
Yes, she was always involved. Don't get me wrong, in the background where way back when, especially in the 70s, obviously when they were dating, they were married. She did a lot of the memos, stuff like that. My dad will have her do. But now it's come to where now she wants her own car, which she has. Before my father passed away, he left her his 53 pickup, which we're currently working on, and hopefully, God willing, this year. But if not, definitely beginning of next year, we're having her truck done, body work's getting done, and she's going to be rolling real soon. So,
your dad's cars are all well taken care of, well preserved.
yes. It was pounded into us, let's just say, from a childhood, growing up appreciating what you have, especially with him as he grew up. He grew up from a poor family, no father, just my grandmother raising 5 boys. So you learn then as a young child to be humble. And as he would say, he was hungry. He wanted to go out there and make something of himself. And thanks to his Uncle Tinker, He had a shop where he would take them to junkyards, get bicycles, go-karts, you name it, little mopeds, and just have at it. He had all the tools there and self-taught mechanics, welding, hydraulics. He was in Carver Junior High where he first saw a car go up and down, liked it so much, that's where he fell in love with the car scene.
You had a father like that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes.
The household. Steve Dukes, how this is a lucky man here. How did you get involved with the Dukes? What were your early beginnings?
Well, I mean, I don't know where I one day saw an old car and I fell in love with it. And even though my first car was a 66 Impala, I knew I would have a bomb eventually. And actually, I saw a centerfold it was a 47 Fleetmaster. It's kind of like the first one. It was sitting really low on wires. I want that car. And there was one in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, I was only 13 years old. I couldn't get that one. But in between there, I started seeing the 39s. You know, like Vince Hernandez is 39 in the magazine, and Fernando's 30. I always say 38, but 37 Buick. The Crow, you know. So I started swinging that way, and I came across one out in Ventura. I think I was 18, just turned 18, and I was a little short on it, but I had an amazing mom that backed everything I wanted to do. You met her at Legends.
Right.
You know, she's 90. She was in her 90s. Unfortunately, she passed away last year. She helped me get the car. So I went up to Ventura. We looked at it, brought it back. I mean, I knew eventually I wanted to get in the Dukes already, from what I'd seen.
You saw me through the magazine or cruising around or at shows?
Magazine, and then being on the boulevard, I saw their cars, you know.
And this was around what year was this?
Well, my first experience with the Boulevard was in '78 when I bought that Impala. I was 15 years old.
Okay.
And we took off to that weekend to the Boulevard, and I mean, it was basically nonstop through there, through the '70s and '80s, until when I finally got in the club. So I knew Julio's store from the magazine because him and Alex, the dad, Fernando, were in front of it with Star Wire's NAD.
Right.
And well, when I got into my work, I was an apprentice, and they make you do all the deliveries and all stuff like that. Well, our painter was on Vernon between Long Beach and Alameda. So I went down there and came back to go up 41st to go back to our shop. And I looked over and there was Julio's shop. And I had to stop. That's how I met Julio. And I told him I had a 39. His first question to me is if you were married, because you kind of had to be a family man to get in the club.
Oh, okay.
And we started talking, but my car the 39 wasn't plaquable yet. So, you know, he told me what I had to do and all this and that. And I would stop and have lunch with them, you know, for about a year. And then eventually he just had this car that was the president of the Visalius chapter in his driveway. They had traded. And then I fell in love with it. And so that was my car that I got into the club with. Because he wouldn't let me get a plaque or a t-shirt, nothing until I got a car that was plaquable. So that's kind of my origins with the club. Yeah.
What's really cool is that even talking about your household and everything, your dad and uncle came way before me. And you got a chance to hear a lot of old stories, some stories that I don't even know about that I wish I knew of.
Yeah.
I mean, your dad and uncle, they were a shop on themselves. They built cars, the whole family.
Yeah.
They hammered them down. They did metal work. They did paint. They did hydraulics. If everybody wants to know about the early stages of hydraulics, where they came from, tire sizes and all that, well, your family was already involved in that. They knew who was who and where it came from. I'll never forget some of the conversations I had, especially with your dad about that, if I wanted to know History 101. Speaking about bombs, I'm into, I guess you would call them traditional cars. I like the 60s and 70s, right? Everybody knows that. Bombs are another type of animal, so to speak. Today you can get anything for a 57. They pop them. I mean, you could get fenders, you could get quarters and all that. When it comes to anything old-time Chevy, late 30s, 40s, they don't make any parts for them at all. So you got to continue the hunt, and it could take years sometimes.
Yeah.
So it takes special builders to build a bomb. I'm working on a project for 48 fleet line right now to do for Estrella Jalisco beer, and it's getting themed out in their colors and everything. So I'm an impatient person, and I took that bomb apart. I'm proud to say that I have experience on it. Yeah, it took me 5 days. It took me a whole day to take off the front grill. And I'm going to tell you, in those eras, cars were just built differently than what I saw in the 60s. Even the cars in the 70s started to get built a little bit more cheaper. But back then, everything was more reinforced. It was heavier duty. I mean, there were 50, 60 bolts to take off the front grill, the back panel on those bumpers, if you will. There was only about maybe 20 of them. I didn't understand it. Why would they build something like this? And we're just right after World War II. And you're thinking tanks and airplanes and all that. And this was the American automobile. And that's just the way they were designed and built back then versus other years. So having taken that part and having that experience, taking that car apart, reminds me of what all of you guys do that own bombs, what you got to go through to put them together, take them apart, put them together, because nothing ever goes back on the same. And this car I'm building, it may take me 3 months to put it back together, and I'm probably missing a lot of bolts. I forgot everything I did. I'm going to need lots of help out there, everybody. But there's a huge difference between bomb builders and traditional car builders. Not just finding the parts, 2-3 months of swap meets and traveling to Pennsylvania, but you guys, it's a special character to build a car like that, 30s and 40s cars.
Yeah, you have a lot more roundness when it comes to those cars, such as the fenders, like a 39, and the curves and everything. It's a little bit more complicated, but at the same time fun, I guess, to fool around with.
Right.
Especially when it's your first time you've taken a 48 apart. Where I have a 39 that I'm working on, and one of my good friends, Rene Avalos, he helped pull out the motor for me. He pulled out the old subframe, everything, left just the body on there. Where me by myself had another subframe that my dad did hydraulics for another customer who decided to go air ride. So he gave the subframe back to us. So in order to use that, knowing my dad did it, I had that one powder coated and put it all together myself. And remembering, backtracking, okay, this is what he did. I remember he did this. I remember he did that. Or even my brother Jason, God rest his soul, okay, this is how he did here and whatnot. And I even had to go back to looking at old pictures that I would take, because my father always said, take pictures, because if you don't take it, they won't believe you. Well, those were his words. And especially when digital came into play in the early 2000s, oh, he bought a camera and we're just taking pictures of everything. As you recall, I sent a few photos to you during the Legends Memorial. And so, yeah, it is a little bit challenging, just the body work, just getting that nice round shape, getting the hood aligned, the doors. It's out there, but in a good way.
What do you think, Steve? You acquire a bomb, you begin to build it. They come 6 volt instead of 12 volt. They come with a 6 inline straight motor. The suspension, there's leaf springs in the back. The technology today is so much more different. When you jump into a car as the years go on, as you begin your builds, let's not even talk body and paint, but what is the progress like? What do you go after first to change? Is it the motor? Is it the suspension front or rear? Or is it 6 volts? What is the first change you have to make?
Well, it's all going to come down to preference too. So, I mean, you don't have to go from 6 volt to 12 volt. Most people like to, just because it's easier to start, and then you could put your radio in there, because you can't do it with 6 volt. And then it's the power. You want to be able to drive on the freeway. So they open drive it. So you got to put a newer rear end, a better transmission. So it's more, how comfortable do you want to be in that car? And what do you want? So it comes down to preference. I mean, I know guys that still have 6 volts in their convertibles. I just got tired of my 39 recently, and I was going to do 12 volt. And I had it in the trailer, and you learn from mistakes. I left the car in neutral the last time I was trying to start it in the trailer, and it worked its way loose. So it ended up shifting over, and now I got to repaint my fender on the car. So now I got to go do all that curving, you know, how it's got to be curved. It's a curved fender, how it's got to be, you know, craftsmanship's got to be there. So I'm actually going to take it over to Noah Eppolito. He's going to be repaint it for me and then repair it. But again, it's just a preference. Everything's a preference. So if I lost my train of thought there.
well, these cars are 75 years old. The best thing, the utmost thing that you're going to want probably is dependability in a car that's that old.
Right.
So I could see understanding changing from 6 volt to 12 volt.
Yeah.
The suspension, because you want it laid down on the floor. You want a comfortable ride. You want the brakes, the engine. I've seen LSs drop into the hoods of those cars.
Yeah.
And you're building a car. You're doing the same thing with an LS in one of yours.
Yeah, I just made that decision to go for that. So it's going to be a 46 Fleetline that we're going to be starting on this year. We're going to redo the frame. We're going to put the LS in it. Complete modern interior. I haven't decided if I'm bagging it or lifting it. Most likely bagging it because I want to drive it afterwards. But yeah, we're going to go all out on that one.
Back in the late 60s, when I was a young kid still, back in the late 60s, when you looked into lowriders, most of them were bombs. The bombs were out there. They're scary looking. I grew up in an area called, there are a few gangs out there in Highland Park, and everybody drove bombs out there. So there was always that, when you looked at them, they looked gangster. I remember that so much back in those days. There were a lot of lowriders in that era that were bombs mostly, besides traditionals were out there. Then eventually the bombs kind of started to fade away, and the traditionals, the 76 Caprice, the LTDs of 1978 came into the picture, a few Cadillacs and all that. And it's great. And you wouldn't see too many bombs anymore. The last 10 years, though, you see a lot more bombs. I don't know if it's because of the challenge, if they're different. But my question to both of you, what is it about building bombs? Because my brother loved bombs, and it wasn't really me, though I respect and love a lot of them. There's certain Cadillacs that are beautiful, rags. There's certain Buicks I like, not because they're different, but you do see a lot of Chevys, the Packards and all that. People ask me, Joe, how come you don't have a bomb? And what, I don't know if I fit that scene. And I don't know. I like fastback cars, muscle cars. I mean, luxury cars. Joe, would you drive a bomb? Which one would you? Well, I'd give me like something in the late 40s of a Cadillac. That's what you would cruise in. It's just like, I don't see myself in a bomb necessarily. Is it gangster? Is it not me? And all due respect, I do love them, but a certain character fits into that style of car. Like, you guys won't jump into a 66 Riviera because you guys settle in. Do you see that, or am I the odd man out here? Is I only have those feelings? Is I ask other people, would you drive a bomb? They go, no, that's not me. Is it because it's gangster, or is it because you live in that era where there's black and white TVs? You have to. I've seen people dress the same when we go to the Roadster show, and they have that one area over there, and everybody's dressed up, you know, with the haircuts, the whole thing. What is it? And I mean this with respect to everybody out there, but there is that little bit of division. And besides the point of challenging yourself to build a bomb, what is it about driving a bomb? It's like if you're on a motorcycle, you must be in a motorcycle gang. So do you guys see that difference? That there are a lot of people out there that just won't jump into a bomb?
I see some that, in your perspective, like you were saying, it just doesn't feel right to them. They have their own preference. Me personally, it was the upbringing, but I love every car. I have an 87 Monte Carlo. I got a 65 Impala chop top custom. So I got a little bit of mixture of everything. My dad, for example, he was a Buick man. That's all he loved was Buicks. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. He had his Chevys. He had a 47 Fleetline he sold to buy my mom's engagement ring. So he loved cars, period. But his top most favorite was the Buick. But for me, I love either one. Just a car guy. Now, I was talking a while back with my younger brother, and we are talking just newer cars today. You know, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, stuff like that. I just thought, you know what? I can't see myself in that. 39 Chevy or Ferrari. I'm sorry. I'm going to go with a 39.
You have an uncle and your dad too were in the Jaguars.
Yes, my uncle Ernie.
Old Jaguars.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Bentley, stuff like that. So even them, they got their lowriders, don't get me wrong, but their heart is with the European cars.
I think the crossover from bomb to something newer is easier than it is from somebody to go, from 60s down.
The style and the design of them are different because they're shaped like a bomb. Like this car, for instance, that, we designed and painted. It's more of a modern paint job, though it's steamed out because of the brand colors that they wanted. And it debuts in Dodger Stadium. I'm in love with that car. I love it to death. When I had to take the windshield wipers off, they told me, remove the radio to get underneath, take out the glove compartment. I had all kinds of ideas. It's behind the fenders, and I had to find out for myself. But the looks of it, and everybody that gets around, I go, no. You wait till we put the visor on it. And then it has skirts, you know what I mean? And then there's the other thing that I want to ask you guys about.
So
I've heard people ask me, Steve, tell me that a bomb isn't a lowrider unless it has wires on it, that you cannot have artilleries. And I beg to differ. Artilleries are expensive, especially the original ones. Artilleries have they have a badass look on them. In fact, that car's going to have artilleries, 15s. And I think and I go, we're going to put artilleries, we're going to do them in black, it'll have the emblem. But I'm arguing in front of everybody, and I'm not a bomb builder, but I love the way the style of that 48 looks and the whole thing. It's long, it's sleek, it's gangster, you know what I mean? I didn't like Frank Sinatra music in the early days, and now I love it. But I respect it, and it is an acquired taste, but it is one hell of a headache to build.
Well, as far as a lowrider, to me, it's not the car, it's how you present the car.
Yeah.
You're the lowrider. If you wanted to have your artistic taste is artilleries versus wires or this and that, it's about enjoying the car, enjoying the community, getting out there and presenting our culture. That's, to me, in my opinion, what lowriding is, or a lowrider, because not everybody wants a best of show car. Some want, a street car. That doesn't make them any different. They're both a lowrider.
Okay, so to each his own. Yeah, yes. Yeah. And that's what makes lowriding what it is today. Every car is a different color, different make, model.
Right.
None of them are the same. What's your choice of the baddest bomb that's out that you would pick? The number one bomb. You would pick your make and model.
If I had to stay with a bomb, and I'm saying bomb or convertible, which is still a bomb, but probably the 40 Fleet Lines.
Which one though? Pick one.
46 to 48, probably the 48 because the grill has a little T, the T on it just a little bit more.
Good, I'll have you come over and help.
I have a 46, so I didn't, but 40 it has a little bit more detail on the grill. Yeah. But if you look from the side, they're basically the same. So,
yeah.
Alex.
Wow. Well, I like 3 particular years.
Your dad was a Buick man.
Yep.
One of them better be a Buick.
And Julio was a
37, 38 Buick, 40 Chevy Fleet Line, which I had when my dad left for me, and of course 39 Chevy.
That was Julio's bread and butter. He loved 39s.
So you guys aren't picking. I didn't hear Cadillac or Packard. When Lifestyle first started, we had a 35 Pontiac, and we had a bomb truck too. But we had a 35 Pontiac, and that thing was it was bad. It was white. So one of the guys from the Santa Monica area. It was a beautiful car though, but I always liked them because they were a little bit different. They all look the same from the side until you get to that grill.
Yeah.
Well, my Uncle Ernie, he's got a 36 Packard.
36.
He's had since the mid-early 70s. He still has today.
It just depends on the car when we're talking about wire wheels and artilleries or crossbar hubcaps. It just depends on the model and car.
I would say model car, but most of all, the person
Yeah.
of what they like. At least back then, the 60s, you didn't have Dane wire wheels, Luxor wheel. You didn't have any of that. You had Cadillac wires, Skylarks, or T-Bird wires. Those were the main ones. And then not to forget Supremes or Krager's. Gypsy Rose had Krager's, and that's a beautiful lowrider.
Yeah, that we all did. I think I had Rockets back then. It's hard to go back to those days before the wires came in and we could afford them.
Right.
But the Dukes, we talked about all the chapters you have, 55 of them. International. Can you name some of the countries?
Yes.
A few of them.
We have Sweden, Denmark, Japan, and Central Japan, and Australia.
Do you guys gather together for an annual meeting, everybody, a representative from every chapter, or how do you guys get everybody together? Does it have to be an anniversary?
Once a year, we have a president's meeting every year.
You guys are 63 years old, the
Yes.
Dukes. The Dukes. What are the standards that your father and your uncle passed along? Are they, because things change as you go along? We modernize more. Suspensions are different now than back then. Paint jobs are a whole lot different. The values of the Dukes, the way the club was ran, bylaws, are they still passed on today? Are they still obeyed?
Yes, bylaws are still based, still passed on with some changes. Where yes, we prefer you to be a family man, level-headed, and not only that, learning to get along with everyone. It's not just come in with a handshake. Come hang out with us, see how you feel. Everyone's got to interact with one another. Bring your kids, bring your wife, everyone. And not only that, when it comes down to the car, the standards still stand, as Steve was saying earlier. It's got to be plaquable. Where, don't get me wrong, everyone wants to start out with the patina look, primer. Okay, you can run that for a little bit. You're not getting a plaque, but you can run it for a little bit. But now, all right, you got to kick it up a notch where you have to at least place in one show. And then we do have our car committee. We go and we look at the cars, make sure everything is up to standard. And if not, we're going to have a talk. And that's mainly where we go over everything at our president's meeting. Just make sure every president is going over that with their membership. So the bylaws. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask, curious, how many meetings do you have to attend to be voted in? You get voted in and then you work on the car until the day you finally get to fly your plaque.
Normally it's 90 days where not only you attend meetings, but you're hanging around to see if it's a feel for you. And I'll give an example where we had one president, may God rest his soul, in one chapter, and one person was interested in attending and joining his chapter. He handed them the bylaws, read them over, have any questions, contact me. Gave them back, said, sorry, this isn't for me. So with that being said, it's hear the bylaws, read, hang out with us, see how you feel, and get that feel. Bring your car, come to a cruise with us or a car show, hang with us, get to know one another, and see this is what you like. And if this is what you like, then we could come now, right? What do you guys think? So normally it's just not just attending to me, it's just attending events, at least 3 events to come and attend with us and at least hang around for a good 90 days.
You mentioned car committee, huh?
Yep.
So the cars have to meet a certain standard to fly that Duke's plaque.
Oh, yes. I mean,
and does the car committee give the okay, and then
car committee comes to us, and then we discuss it as the mother chapter, and then we go from there.
So the mother chapter rules all chapters.
Yes.
Everybody has to abide by the mother chapter.
Yes, and the bylaws which are provided by the mother chapter.
The mother chapter resides in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Okay.
Southern Cal, as they call it now.
Okay, so then another question that I have for you is the club, the standards, all the bylaws, and who you guys are today. With all the different chapters that you have, is it bombs only? Is it 30s, 40s, 50s? What are not necessarily?
Not necessarily anymore. And the reason my dad kind of changed it around the 90s, because he's seen a lot of young crowds that really wanted to be a Duke, but a lot of them were coming in with G-bodies when G-bodies were a big thing back then. And which, don't get me wrong, they still are now. And a lot of 60s cars. So my dad was saying, eventually they come in, they're gonna like what they see as far as the bombs,
Right.
and eventually they're gonna probably end up selling their car and buying a bomb. And sure enough, it has happened
Happened quite often.
quite often where they get a feel of it and they like it. But the rules are a little bit, as my dad would say, the rule, we don't break the rules. They are flexible, where he will tend to accommodate certain people because he sees something in them, knowing that they just were just car guys. And he wanted to give everyone a fair chance other than just being just 30s and 40s and early 50s.
It's kind of involved with the time.
Well, you have like an Impellus chapter, right?
Yes.
And there's some are family related too, aren't they?
Yes, my brother-in-law is the president of that chapter.
Those cars are badass too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the
They-
detail on them, yeah, they're very nice.
They came out strong
They
when they
came
came
out strong. They meant business when they came to me because he wanted to talk about opening up a chapter. And he's like, "What do I got to do to get it in?" The same thing with our bylaws. You know, I already know you guys are family orientated already, married, kids. You get along with everybody. But and then looking when he was telling me the years they have from 62 to 64 and 69, all Impalas, I got the idea honestly from the Impalas Car Club up north.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, if they're strictly Impalas, and in the back of my mind, my brother Jason always wanted to do a Duke's G-body chapter, just nothing but G-bodies. So the two kind of combined it together for me, and I was like, you know what? Let's do an Impala chapter and see where it goes. And it's been great. They've been hitting every show, you name it. And again, with them, they already had it down packed where we don't want to get in yet until we have something to show. And they had all their ducks lined up in a row for me.
Yeah, they're probably the strongest chapter that's ever debuted that I've seen. You know, and
Sometimes
they're not done. They're
you
still
have to
building cars.
adapt. I know. I know your dad was kind of strict.
Yeah.
For him to do something like that, I'm kind of strict too about certain things. But then people start to think that you get softer. But no, you have to go with the times because the times will pass you. You don't have to. You could bend a little bit, but you'll never break. But if you don't, then if you go with the times before they pass you up, look. And for the better of the club, just being around 63 years is everything.
Right.
I mean, you, Steve, can go way, way back as well as you can with some of the stories. I'm sure your mom still knows. You can go back and you don't even know all the names that are being mentioned. You never probably met them.
Yeah.
Still a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, to go back then, almost, 6 decades to go back and see all the traditions and how they change and the cars have changed, the paint jobs have changed. To fly that plaque is everything. So you have to make adjustments, and it's good for the new generation. And then having like cousins involved with that chapter too.
Yeah.
How you have a chapter in Japan?
Yes.
How many members are in that chapter?
And the first Japan chapter.
That chapter's been around for a while, right?
In Central
Yes.
Japan. Right?
Well, there's Japan and Central Japan.
Yeah.
The first Japan was been around now going on actually almost 20 years or so now. Yeah, for the first Japan, they got about 5 members, and then their Central Japan, they about, I believe, 7. And I believe they opened up in 2010, I believe. If I remember, they opened up through my brother when he was still around.
Having all these members, all these chapters, you have a lot of role models, a lot of professionals, and I'm talking about school teachers, firemen, military, law enforcement, you name it. They're all over the place. And you make it all one big family. Is there they become role models amongst all the members that are around them. You guys do a lot of community events that are out there, and it's good. What you do reflects on all of us, and it better because you guys were kind of the first car club out there. Major car club that's still in existence today. A lot come in and they go. Any special role models that are out there, teachers, anybody of notoriety, lawyers, anything like that?
Well, not lawyers necessarily, but we got a lot of construction, honestly, a lot of tattoo artists.
Yeah. Military.
Yes,
Ex-military.
We do have military, yeah.
Yeah, we have one of the Sacramento members right now. I think he's still active.
Yeah.
He even sent us a picture in a Blackhawk with the Duke's plaque in the window.
Yeah.
He was flying plaque in a Blackhawk.
Yeah.
How many members would you say are in the Dukes now? Currently, with all the chapters combined?
That's a hard one.
That's a hard one, yeah.
We can only imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, at least 1,000 because between 55 chapters.
Yeah, 55 chapters, between 5 to 10 members per chapter.
Yeah. Well, I mean 500 then.
Yeah.
What are the benefits of having chapters? I mean, you have a problem just containing your own chapter in SoCal,
Mhm.
watching over everybody, guiding them like a shepherd. And then when you let that family expand and it goes all over the world, you have to keep eyes on them. You have to trust them. So the job that you have is compounded. You're like the international
Yeah.
president, right?
Yes.
How do you oversee all of that? Is there a chain of command between all presidents? I mean, does your phone, you must be on the phone
I
all day
laugh first
long,
because
right? With problems.
I
Hey,
know
this
that.
happened. We need to get this. What is it like?
In the beginning, when I first took over, it was a little overwhelming, only because it's the way I took over. Unfortunately, my brother passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to step up, in which he got cheated out of everything, unfortunately. And not to get off the subject, but in the beginning, it was a little overwhelming. But thankfully, though, as far as the mother chapter, everyone is super mellow. We all agree on everything. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have dislikes here and there. It's a meeting. We're members. We're human. It's going to happen. No way getting around it. But at the end of the day, we come together in full force. Now, chapters wise, that's where the presidents come into play. If your members acting up, you got to be the one to regulate it. However, I ask around, how's everything? How's everything? Everything's all right. If I hear from another third hand, we're going to have a problem. And what my brother was doing before he passed away, and this was fantastic, a great idea with him and one of our sergeant at arms, they came up with having them lead representatives to help out.
By region.
Yeah, by region, to help with so many of the chapters, where I have one gentleman up north who handles all my Northern Cal chapters. Obviously, we handle the Southern Cal. We got our Texas lead representative who handles all the chapters in Texas. We got another one in New Mexico, handle the chapters in New Mexico, and the same with Arizona. So they kind of like whatever chapter and within those regions have a problem, they go to their lead representatives. But again, which it's going to happen. It comes with the territory. Something's going to get a little bit above that, then they come to us. But for the most part, everything's been great. In the beginning, again, it was a little overwhelming. You know, you got this young guy coming in. He does things a little bit different than what my brother did, and even what my father did. We're all three different people, night and day. Even though we have the same passion for the sport and for the hobby, but yet we all just do things differently. So I'm pretty sure it was a little bit challenging even for them to see how I run things, and vice versa, getting to know them, because it's different where we're members, but now I'm in charge. I'm no longer your member. I'm your president. Yeah. And sometimes, to be honest, sometimes someone got to be reminded of that. It's cool for us to BS on the side, but now we got to take care of business.
Yeah, when he first took over, it just seemed like, I don't know if it was a coincidence, but like, you know, people were it was like testing him, because he just kept getting calls to see how he's doing and do it and react and everything. And Alec kept his position. He's stepped up in his father's footsteps and his brother's footsteps, and he's led this club to where it needs to be, and he'll continue to do that. We all have his back, you know.
It seems like knowing you, Steve, for a while now, and watching you travel to all the different shows and join other chapters in Denver and way out there in Chicago, which was, you know, fantastic. I see that you oversee the club. You worry a lot about the club if they're not there, but you're protecting that image of the family and the Dukes itself and all its history. You're involved a lot. What are you? Do you have an active role as an officer?
I'm vice president of the SoCal chapter.
Yeah.
You know, in the 80s and going to the shows, I seen what Fernando would do and all this and that. What I do now is just try to follow in there. I can never fill their shoes. Yeah. Him or Julio's. I just try to do what I do to honor them. That's the best I could do right now. It's for the name of the club. It's for the name of Raylos. You know, that's what I want to do. I'm 61 now. I mean, I don't know how long I'm gonna be getting in and out of cars or loading up a car in a trailer, but with time I have left to do such stuff like that, I want to do it in a way that it honors. And I always say Julio first because he's the one that sponsored me in the club, but I want to honor him. I want to honor Fernando and every Duke that's, you know, no longer with us. You know, there's a lot from when I got in the club that they're no longer here. Some of them are still here. You know, Chivo's still here, Fleetline Joe, Jesse. I was going to call him Larry. I knew his name was Jesse, but I was going to say Larry. You know, they're still around, but I want to honor all them. You know, that's why I do what I do. I don't do it for, you know, I don't build a car to win a piece of plastic. I build it for our name. You know, I want to represent the club for future members.
You just about build all kinds of varieties of cars, though, from cabriolets to, I must have in Chicago passed right by a couple of times, noticed it, but I never thought it would be something that you would build. Was your
My 39 LaSalle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a way kind of like you. I like to be different. I mean, I love my Chevy convertibles, but
No, I'm talking about the customized one with the
the
murals and the
51.
lights. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that
pretty
was
badass.
that was supposed to start off with just lifts and a paint job on it, and I was
Right.
gonna drive it. I mean, I got one piece of engraving on it, and then it just spiraled out of control from one piece of engraving, which was the steering wheel, you know.
Right.
And then I ended up shaving the dash and putting electronic gauges in it, as a 350 in it.
The murals
the
all over the
murals.
place are beautiful.
Yeah, a member from our club did the murals. Shin, I don't know how to pronounce his last. You know how to pronounce Shin's last name?
No, just Shin, as I know, so it's hard to
Just
pronounce.
Shin, huh?
He's from
in
the
our-
he was a Tokyo chapter. He did
yeah,
all the
he's in our
murals.
Japan
He
chapter.
does
Yeah,
murals. At a discount or
Oh, he hooked me up. Yeah. You know, JR Upholstery did the interior on that.
so there's got to be, if I talked about role models and firemen and teachers and all that, you guys have to have inside your membership networking. How does networking go between the club and all the chapters? If I need a rumble seat for my Buick Cabriolet, or if I need a bumper, or if I need a certain spotlight. I mean, the accessories go on forever.
Yeah.
The accessories cost more than the car sometimes.
yes.
The compass, all of that
Unfortunately,
stuff.
Yeah.
So do you have some type of a network between everybody? If I'm looking for this, and then say no one has it, but we'll be on the lookout. You guys are all helping out each other. You're all on a so-called hunt together.
Yes, we put the word out, and luckily, like you said, we do have a couple members within the club that happen to be parts collectors that sell parts and
yeah,
accessories.
do it for a living kind
Yeah.
of thing.
They trade or sell. They're at Pomona swap meets. One of our presidents from the New Mexico chapter,
Yeah, that's my go-to right there.
Yeah.
Pancho in New Mexico.
he's got a
He's usually
lot
my
of
first
goodies.
call.
Are there there's bombs just what in garages that have been left there for
Yeah,
20, 30 years and no one's touched, and then
they're
they
still
just,
finding them.
Oh
they're
yeah,
still finding them.
they're still finding bar finds, as they call them.
They're still out there, huh?
yeah.
Speaking of Pancho from New Mexico, me and Fleetline Joe flew out to Delaware to rent a trailer and a truck to bring a 48 convertible back. It was missing one piece of trim, and we happened to stop at his shop on the way back, and he had it. And he's the kind of guy, he just goes, here, just take it. You needed to finish your car. So, I mean, he gave me that rocker molding for that 48 convertible. So,
What I talked about artilleries and wire wheels. There's always going to be the white wall. The white wall has to be always thicker, or
Oh, the
not
white wall,
necessarily.
yeah.
Always 2.5 inches.
it goes back to the look. I mean, to me, I love the white walls on certain cars, you know. But some like the thick white walls, some like the thin white walls with crossbars, you know. To me, if you're gonna run artilleries, a thick white wall.
Yeah, I would
You
agree.
know?
And when it comes to accessories, let everybody out there know about accessories. When they walk by and they look at a bomb and they start thinking about, wow, the old days, look at this thing. And of course, they look even more different when they're slammed on the floor. but I mean some of the artifacts that are on there, the spotlights,
First,
everything, the way they dress up a bomb today, you know, the cigarette, the ashtray, the cigarette holder, the cigarette pack, and all of that, the umbrella holder. I mean, it could go on forever, right?
well,
What are the prices for things like that, and where do you find them? Educate them, educate myself.
I was gonna say the first thought on that was they better just have deep pockets. If you're gonna
Yes.
start looking
Yeah.
at accessories, you're
Yeah.
gonna, it's no joke, you know. So, but they're
There's guys that run out of accessories to put on the car that they just continue putting them out there on
Yeah.
display.
Oh yeah.
It just goes on and on. What's the most expensive parts that are out there?
I said compass.
Yes, I've heard Compass. For original NOS Compass, I've heard $8,000.
Yeah,
$8,000 or 8?
8.
Wow.
8,000.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
the compasses are the most expensive item.
Yeah. That or original 39 Chevy fender skirts.
Yeah.
Those are about roughly about the same price, 8,000.
I've seen them go 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel about back then, the cruising and all that? And cars are more modernized today. We talked about front clips,
Mhm.
4-link suspension. You're dropping an LS. We talked all about that performance, dependability, getting out there, driving them around. I mean, I saw one today, a bomb going down the freeway, and everybody was just looking. And it's on a freeway. It's
Mhm.
80 years old, but it's on a freeway and it's moving along pretty good. And that guy's minding his own business, and he's just telling us, we're not in 2025. We are in 1940 something right now. And I don't even, the other cars on that freeway, Teslas, you name it, Toyotas didn't exist. He ran that freeway like he owned it. And it's good because that's what it's all about.
Right.
I mean, why build it? Not to just put it on the in a show on a 20x20, even on a turntable. You want to get out there and drive those things.
Yeah.
So you guys go all over the place in your rides, jump in them, and let's go.
Me personally, because I'm right now driving my dad's stuff,
Yeah.
I'm real skeptical. Just knowing it was his, God forbid if something were to happen to it, I will never forgive myself. And there are a lot of crazy drivers out there. They don't respect the road. And my dad's 37 Buick, which is at the Peterson, original rear end, original motor, straight 8. Never been rebuilt, by the way. That car's got to have at least 300,000 miles, but it runs like a champ. Fast as I could go if I'm lucky, 35 miles per hour. And I'm just, God, please don't let no mother effer hit me.
God forbid you use the wrong wax to clean it also.
Yep.
And I know he's patting me on the back right
Yeah.
now. Good
Oh,
one.
yeah.
But that's good to hear that, you know, you're taking care of it and the traditions more than ever continue on because, you know, I hate to think about who's going to wipe down my car, how they're going to wipe it down and with what. And that goes for all of us when that time or whatever comes.
Yeah.
Car shows, competition. I know you guys have a name that's established for a long time. You have lineups of 40 to 50, 60 cars,
Yeah.
especially at the original Lowrider show in LA. Mandalay Bay. You guys are out there well representing with that lineup. And it's always good to see that plaque amongst all the other different car clubs. Is there anything in judging out there that, I mean, you go there to represent who you are. Is there anything in judging? And there's not perfect judges. I've said that before. And I'm trying to learn here. Is there anything that you guys need that maybe the judges need to acknowledge more about judging cars today? You have to drive a bomb to understand them before you pull out a clipboard.
Yeah.
Do you guys see any changes anything that you like to see?
Cars in
Done.
general, or are we talking about?
Yeah, I
talking
mean,
about
when a
bombs?
judge comes on and judges your cars,
I
you
would-
expect more because it's impossible to bring a car back from being almost dead 80 years and you're bringing it back to life. So you want the right person to go down there and look at them. It's easier for me to go judge paint and interior
Mhm.
and a 1970s car than something in the 30s and 40s. So I better know what I'm doing. Do you guys see anything about the car shows, the competition, the trophies and all that? Or do you guys even care about it?
Well,
Does the judging final points or a win, a second place or third place, does that matter to you guys?
representing the club is
Yeah.
first and foremost.
That's
not
nice.
the piece of plastic.
Good.
Yeah.
But, I
No,
mean, it
they're
is a bylaw though. Your
Ain't
car's supposed to.
plastic.
Your car's supposed to place.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the words from last
Yeah,
night's
I know.
show.
I know.
So, but as far as the judging, I mean, it'd be nice. It's easy to say, but it'd be nice to have somebody that's either built a car or
Right.
had a car built, so they know what went into it before they can judge somebody else's. But I mean, the lack of people that want to judge or available to judge. I mean, I imagine it would be kind of hard to get a current painter to judge a car because he might be judging his own paint job. So I kind of see it that way. So it's the access to the people that could judge it. It seems like they're hard to find, but ideally, if we could have somebody that, again, they built the car or had a car built, have knowledge of the little fine tuning of stuff or modification that, an untrained eye won't see, like a shaving of a door handle or something
Right.
like that. They don't see that, that craftsmanship was there or been done, or
How do you
the
take
quality,
something
quality
that
of a paint
much-
job,
How do you take that something that much value
Yeah.
and you shave the door handles, like the Peterson Museum right there, front lobby, man. That car right there is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, about
Since I
Green Bean?
first- yeah,
The green one? Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful car.
for everybody to come in from all over the world too,
Mm.
and to see a car like that makes me proud. That you can't say nothing about that. It compares with some of the Porsches in the other hall, and it's good that it's flying the plaque.
And that's the owner of one of the people we mentioned that like hold down a region. That's Zombie Joe out there in Texas.
It's-
Nice, good people, man. I've
Yeah.
met them before.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of your members, man. Always will respect them. As we come to a close to this show, we talked about just about everything, recapping. How you guys got into bombs, the difference between bombs and traditionals, the hunt, what the artifacts for these relics cost to go and get them, a compass for $8,000, not $8,000. Through everything and the traditions, the family, all your upbringings. You see the Dukes going on forever, don't you?
God willing, yes. I mean, after I'm gone, I still have my younger brother. He's got his two sons. My older brother has his son still, little Jason. So I do feel, hope, and know they will continue it on.
Is there a bicycle club?
There hasn't been a bicycle club in quite
But
a
the
few
kids
years,
are all getting
but the kid-
involved. The family, it's family, right?
Exactly. My godson, little Jason, my nephew, he actually just built a bike on his own in his dad's garage about a month ago. And in between that, a few months back, he was messaging me, what primers does he use? What does he have to do here? As far as sanding, where's the sandpaper? I said, well, you got to look for the sandpaper. I don't know, it's your dad's garage. But as far as these are the stages to primer, sand, reprimer, don't paint it in the heat. You're going to have to get up early, 5, 6 in the morning where it's cool. That way it doesn't dry out. So just stuff that I remember that my dad used to do, passing on to him. And he sent me a picture of it. It looked really nice, and ordering his parts. So he's starting off. He just turned 16 a couple months ago. He just got his driver's permit. Congratulations again. Love you, papas. And one step at a time, one day at a time. So
Yeah, and growing up with Jay, he's actually my favorite to hopefully follow in their grandparents' footsteps and follow his dad's. Yeah, we talk to him a lot when we can, when he's around.
yeah.
What advice do you guys have for the audience before we close the show here? We heard it all here. If people are tinkering out there, or they own a traditional, they're going to get their first low rider. And a choice that they may have is to probably build a bomb, and you guys have all that experience. Is it that hard? Once you get into it, there's no turning back. Because I've seen bomb guys stay with bombs and never cross over, so to speak, the majority. And that's a great thing, but I'm saying, what is your advice to everybody out there if they were to acquire a bomb and build a bomb?
Well, it's got to come down to what you want and what you decide you want to be cruising in. Like I was trying to say earlier when I forgot what it was, is that crossover. So we can go to a newer car easier than it is for somebody to go to an older car because we can just update our car. Newer guys don't want to go through all that tearing down, doing upgrades, or so we can cross over or even get a newer car because it's just a different preference.
But it makes you stronger, doesn't it? To go the
Well, bottom line, it's
Your
all about
route.
low riding. Whatever you,
Yeah.
it's whatever your preference is. So if somebody that wants to get a bomb, you have to have patience, first of all, because you're going to be looking
Yes.
for parts. I mean, unless you buy one that's done, but if you're going to be looking for parts, you got to have that patience. You have to have your game plan on what you want to do. I learned that the hard way. My 51, I've actually changed it 4 times before it got to where it was at. Because again, it was supposed to start off just a street original with hydraulics to what it is now. So best advice is get your game plan from A to Z, get the kind of style car you want, decide on what, before you buy it, decide what you want to do to it so that that fits into that build. You know, otherwise you're going to be wasting a lot of money. Like, unfortunately I did, changing this and changing that after I already built it one way.
Any major events coming up for the Dukes? Anniversaries, anything like that? Shows?
Not shows. We're having our all chapters picnic in June, which we have every year.
Where's that at?
We're gonna have that at Yorba Linda Regional Park.
Hundreds of cars, huh?
Oh,
Take over the whole place.
Pretty much, yeah. Again,
Good. Good.
and something the mother chapter provides for all the chapters as a thank you, and the whole Dukes just get together, the whole organization, well, most of the organization, and come out and just have a good time, chill, eat, hear music, and relax, and stay cool since summertime.
You guys gain respect from all the car clubs that are out there, especially all the bomb clubs, oldies, pachucos, all those different clubs. You guys all get along and you all respect each other because of the builds, right?
Yeah, some of
Yes.
those, there's some great clubs as well. Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
Since we are here, there's one thing I like to see come back is you were part of this and the dad was part of this, the West Coast Association.
Ah,
Lifestyle,
Yeah.
us, group, Imperials, we would have
Get
that
together.
together.
toys for kids.
There's more, do a toys for kids car
Yeah.
show.
I agree
Even
with
if
that.
it's just one last time and it being I'm sure it can't be at Huntington High School. That's
No, I
where-
mean, I can get a hold of Spanx right now with the Imperials, and we can do that. It'd be taking us back down memory lane. It'd be a great thing. Can't forget where we came from.
Yeah.
yeah.
Good call. Well, there you go, everybody. As we come to a close, another episode of the Wired Down podcast show. The Dukes, the president, Alex Relas, Family Traditions, Steve Noval, something like the shepherd there. I know Julio
Yeah.
and your dad, Fernando, are up there and they're very proud. Man, I'm very proud too, man, to see that name still coming along
Thank you.
because,
Appreciate it.
like I
bro.
said, man, out much respect. I do what I do because you guys continue to do what you do before me and probably after. So there you go, everybody. You guys got to come back. The Dukes have to come back. They're around here
Oh, yeah.
forever. Dukes, right here, you guys.